Hi, everyone. I'm Frank Santos, the host of State House Podcast. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we're doing on the recent episodes regarding the Robert Roberson death penalty case. This year, October 16th, a Texas Legislative House Committee created a constitutional crisis when it intervened in the scheduled execution of Robert Roberson. Back in 2003, Roberson was convicted of capital murder in the killing of his 2-year-old baby girl. The prosecution was able to put on a lot of evidence about child abuse, but they also used what then was a somewhat novel theory of shaken baby syndrome, which is a diagnosis created by the American Academy of Pediatrics. In 2009, the American Academy of Pediatrics decided to back away from their original diagnosis and included some other injuries that needed to occur in order for shaken baby syndrome to be considered to be the diagnosis for that particular child's injuries. The criminal defense attorneys decided that this had some kind of bearing on any of their clients that had been convicted using anything to do with the shaken baby syndrome diagnosis. Fast forward 2013, the Texas legislature passes a bill which they dubbed the junk science bill. In that bill, they go through a definition of what is junk science and give convicted felons the opportunity to appeal their conviction if they felt like they had been convicted on something that was now considered junk science. And since the American Academy of Pediatrics had changed their opinion as to the shaken baby syndrome, about, I believe, 50-plus convicted felons took advantage of that appeal and appealed to the Criminal Court of Appeals. The reason this case is getting so much attention is because, as I mentioned earlier, in October 16th, a Texas Legislative Committee decided to intervene in the execution of Robert Roberson, which was supposed to take place on October 17th, the next day. They held a 9-hour hearing to go over his case. They brought in very high-profile witnesses such as Dr. Phil, the author John Grisham, and they even subpoenaed the inmate, in this case, Robert Roberson. The reason was that his appeal had been denied by the Criminal Court of Appeals, that there wasn't enough evidence to give him another trial. And the Innocence Project got involved and raised a big PR campaign around it, got the attention of these legislators, and they took it upon themselves to hold this hearing. Now, the reason that it matters is because the legislature does not have any, typically, it doesn't have any authority, constitutional authority over a death penalty case, particularly when someone's looking to get a stay of execution. That's always been in the hands of the executive branch, the governor, in this case, Governor Abbott. So as soon as this hearing was called, the governor and the attorney general fiercely objected to it and sent their objection to the Texas Supreme Court. The hearing goes on, and although Roberson's never brought to give testimony, a district court takes notice and gives him a stay pending the ruling of the Texas Supreme Court on whether or not this committee has the ability to intervene in a death penalty case. We wanted to bring you clarity on this issue. There's a lot of information that you're getting on the news media about what's happening with this case. So we decided we needed to bring you at least 3 different views of what's going on. We have Representative Drew Darby, who's a committee member on the committee that was taking testimony the day before the execution date, who went through the whole process of why the committee called this hearing, and he's a Republican member, and Representative Darby argues on the podcast that they do have the authority, and they called it oversight authority over the department, the Texas Criminal Justice Department. And that's the exact authority that the governor and attorney general say they do not have. So next step is we asked former Texas Supreme Court Justice Craig Enoch, because we wanted to find out about the separation of powers issue and have that explained to you. As he's talking to me about it, the decision by the Supreme Court comes in, says no, the legislature does not have the authority. So now the separation of powers issue is resolved at the Supreme Court level, and now a new death warrant will be, or a new scheduled date for his execution, which will be another 90 days at some point, is going to come about. But the third piece of this puzzle is, what about the case itself? We haven't talked about that. So we have a criminal defense attorney coming in, Angelica Cogliano, and she is going to talk about doing a deep dive actually into the case itself. So you have the separation of powers battle going on, and then you have the whole issue of the actual case about the shaken baby syndrome and whether it can be used, whether he got a fair trial at the Criminal Court of Appeals on his trying to get an appeal of his death penalty. Those are the things that you're going to find when you go to our channel. You're going to enjoy these podcasts. We encourage you to look them up, like them, subscribe, and let us know what else you want us to cover, because we're going to go in and we're going to find the right people and bring them to you so that it can be explained to you in a better way than what you get on any other media. So we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.